Ready?
Ja.
Hey guys, today is day 5 and we are starting the day at the Venetian poker room. We started a new table, so no waiting today. Luckily for us, it sucked yesterday. We waited like 3 to 4 hours, but you already know that if you see the last episode. Today, another mission, another ladder challenge. We try to climb the ladder from round 3 to maybe 510 if it's good. Let's see how it goes and yeah, wish us luck and see you at the table. Yes, we are back at the table and we start the session at around 1:30 PM. I buy in for $300, which is the max at the Venetian, and in one of the first hands I look down at ace jack suited in the cutoff. I 3-bet this pot versus the low jack open and we lose a pretty big pot on the jack high board versus pocket queens. I lose around $100 in this hand and the next hour isn't very great for me as well. I already have to rebuy for $140, not even 1 hour into the game. Not really a very good start to the ladder challenge, but fasten your seatbelts, it will get better. 90 minutes of pure card deadness go by and then we went on a little heater. Here 3 back-to-back hands. In the first hand here I have ace jack suited where unfortunately I don't have notes, but I win a small pot, and then we are in the under the gun position and I put on the straddle. And slightly older lady in early position raises to 30. She was pretty tight so far, but she only has $150 total in her stack. So when it folds back to me, I think a call is the best option here most of the time, but in the moment it came over me and it felt like a 3-bet would be the better option. So I 3-bet to 90. After a short time she decides to call. She only has $60 behind and we see a good flop for our hand of Queen Jack 3 Rainbow. Of course the money is going in. I put her in for her remaining $60 and she quickly calls. We see a very nice card in form of an offsuit ace on the turn and a brick 5 on the river. She turns over pocket kings. So we sucked out on her big time here in this hand and we win a massive pot, and luckily for us things go in the right direction now. The very next hand, you see there is no cut in the video, I'm in the big blind with pocket 10s. There's an early position open to 15 and it folds to me and I'm the only caller. We see a flop of queen 9-3 all diamonds. We have the 10 of diamonds, so we get a flush draw to our second pair in this hand, and after I check, the early position player bets 20. No reason to fold right away, so I stick in a call. We see an interesting card on the turn in form of the jack of hearts. So our hand moved from second pair to third pair, but we have a flush draw and an open-ended straight draw right now. Still, I think the best option is to check to my opponent and see what he does. He decides to bet for 65. With this new gained equity, I think there's no way I can fold, even though I could draw pretty slim. I call for 65 and we see a river. The dealer burns and shows us the king of hearts. Very interesting card as well. We have a straight now, most likely we are good in this one, and now is the question, do we want to lead or do we want to check to our opponent? Most likely this is a scare card for my opponent unless he flopped a flush, but that is kinda unlikely. Flopping flushes is pretty hard in this game, so I think most likely he will check back on this river and that would be the worst outcome for me in this hand. So after a small time of consideration, I decide to lead on this river for $110. He goes into the tank and it seems like he has a pretty tough decision. That's music to my ears because now I know I'm definitely good here. After like 1 minute he decides to call the $110. I turn over my hand and shockingly for me he turns over pocket jacks with the jack of diamonds. Wow, we sucked out on another opponent big time here in back-to-back hands, unbelievable runouts here back-to-back hands, and we have a stack now of 685. Maybe it's time to put ourselves on the list for 2-5 here, huh? So guys, we are almost at $300 profit. If I reach that, I will move to the 2-4 game, but maybe it take another hour or so. I'll keep you updated, and yeah, let's hope we can move up in stakes, right? See you there. At the Venetian they don't have a 2-5 game, but they have a 2-4 game, so I put myself on the list for this game and I got a seat pretty quickly. Unfortunately, before I switched the table, I lost a big hand where I lost $80 to a friend of mine of the table, so we only booked a small profit of $160 before we go into the 2-4 game. I'm sitting at around 600, which by the way is the max for their 2-4 game, so no worries, but to be honest, on the one side it doesn't feel too good to move up in stakes with only a small profit, but on the other side I really want to climb the ladder on this day, and that's the only way to maybe reach 510 at this day. And yeah, for the first 2 hours of play in this 2-4 game, I went on a pretty long dry streak. I win some small pots, I lose some small pots, but then we get our first premium hand at the 2-4 game. I look down at pocket aces. The under the gun straddle is on and I'm in first position, and of course I raise it up to 25. It folds all the way back to the under the gun straddle, who puts in a call, so we go heads up in position to a flop of Jack 9-9 with 2 diamonds. He checks to me and this board looks pretty safe to me, so I see bet for 20. He calls and we go to a not so nice looking turn card in form of the Queen of Diamonds. He checks to me for the second time, and since I have the Ace of Diamonds, I think I can c-bet this turn card as well, and this time I size up to 50. My opponent wastes no time and sticks in 50 as well. Now I'm kinda worried, and let's see what develops on the river. The dealer burns and shows us the Jack of Hearts. Another not so great card for me, but luckily for me my opponent checks to me for a third time. That line doesn't seem very strong, but I don't think I get another value bet through versus a worse hand than mine, so I check to my opponent and see what he has. He turns over pocket fives and we win our first big hand at this 2-4 game. Feels pretty good, but then unfortunately something happened. Bad news guys, I'm running out of storage of my camera. No accu, no battery, you know what I mean. So unfortunately I cannot film anymore, but I keep you updated. Yeah, I'm sitting at around 660 right now, so I'm in profit land for 2-4 as well, but only for €40, for $40, and yeah, let's see how it goes. I keep you updated. See you then. So very unfortunately my phone almost died and I was looking for a charger for like the next 3 or 4 hours. That means sadly I don't have video footage for all my 2-4 hands, so you have to trust me with the next hands. As you guys already know because of the title, I moved up to 510 and that represents the way, and these hands are kind of important to me. And a little spoiler, luckily for me, I found a charger after like 3 or 4 hours, so I have video footage for the 510 gameplay, so stay tuned for that. Or if you want, you can skip this next 3 or 4 hands, move to the 510 game, but I would appreciate if you watch the next 3 hands as well, even though there's no video footage. Thanks again, and now into the next 2-4 hand. It's already 8:30 PM and here we are in the hijack with Ace Deuce of Clubs. We see a limp from early position and the low jack player raises to 15. He only has 250 total in his deck, remember that, and Ace Deuce of Clubs is a pretty good candidate to 3-bet bluff here, and that's exactly what I do. I 3-bet to 45. The early position player gets out of the way and only the low jack calls. So we go heads up to a flop of Jack 7-7 with 2 diamonds and 1 club. My opponent checks to me, and on this board I think I could c-bet here sometimes, I could check here sometimes. In the end I decide to c-bet for 35. Put some pressure on his middling pocket pairs, and after a small time he decides to call. We see a not so good looking card for us in form of the Queen of Diamonds on the turn, and my opponent checks to me again. On this card I think I should slow down here most of the times and see a free river card, and the river card really looks better to me. The dealer shows us the Ace of Hearts. My opponent again checks to me for a third time. That seems pretty weak to me. I think most likely my opponent will have a jack here in this hand, maybe a pocket pair like 9s, 8s, something like that. and in the end I choose a line which I don't choose very often. I put my opponent all in for his remaining 170 total. It's a slightly overbet and this might look kinda bluffy, because the ace is definitely a good card for my range and I could use that to my advantage. And maybe my opponent knows that as well, and maybe will call me a little lighter here. But enough theory, my opponent snap folds and we take down this pot. It feels like the poker gods are on our side now, because only 10 minutes later I pick up pocket aces. I'm in the hijack and it folds to me and I raise to 15. The cutoff and the button behind me decide to call, and the small blind is next to act, who jams for his remaining stack of 110. The big blind folds and it's on me again. And I have a small decision here, if I just want to call here and invite the cutoff and the button as well and go 4 ways to a flop. Not really sure if that's the best thing. And on the other side, if I re-raise here, it may looks a little weaker than just calling. Anyway, in the end I decide to raise to 250 and the cutoff and the button pretty quickly fold and we go to a run out. No more action here versus the small blind. The dealer burns and shows us a flop of ace 6-3, so we flop top set, turn is a 4 and the river is a 6. We both up here on the last card and of course we are good. My opponent mucks and we scoop in this nice pot. Again, only 10 minutes later we look down at ace king of hearts in the big blind and we see a limp from the cutoff and the small blind completes, and of course I don't want to check this back with this premium hand. I raise to 19. Only the cutoff calls and we go out of position to a flop of jack 7 3 rainbow. On this dry board I decide to c-bet small and the cutoff calls. We see the 5 of clubs on the turn and I decide to check to my opponent. He relatively quickly checks back and we see another jack on the river. Not the best, not the worst. It makes it less likely that my opponent has a jack. I think there's no reason to block bet or something like that, so I check to my opponent again. Now he does something interesting. He chooses a sizing, which is pretty polarized. He bets pot for 80. Like polarized bets often do to me, it feels kinda suspicious. Sus. My opponent was definitely on the loser side, and to make things short, I take my time for like 1 minute, but then decide to hero call. My opponent doesn't seem too pleased because he shows us 10-9 offsuit. So we only had a missed gut shot and we win this big pot with only ace high. Feels pretty good and it feels like I run over the table now. I win some other small pots in the next hour and it still feels like I'm the table captain, and it gets even better. We pick up pocket aces again. This time we are in the big blind and we see 3 limps before it gets to me, and I have to raise this pot up here. I raise to 25. Only the +1 player calls and we see a flop heads up out of position of jack 7 deuce with 2 diamonds. I c-bet for 25, which my opponent quickly calls. We see the queen of spades on the turn, which kinda looks scary in the first place, but does my opponent really limp call with queen jack here? I don't think so. I think I still can bet for value here, put pressure on his 1 pair type holdings, maybe get value from flush draws, straight draws, something like that. I bet 60 in the end. My opponent thinks for a small time and then puts in 60 as well. We go to the last card and the dealer rolls over the 10 of hearts. So at least the obvious flush draw brick, but hands like jack 10, queen 10 and even 9-8 got there, but I think 9-8 is kinda unlikely. I don't think betting here is the best strategy. He might bluff if I check to him. If he has a 1 pair type hand or maybe a lower pocket pair, he will definitely fold to a bet, and if he has a stronger hand, I value own myself by betting here. So in the end I decide to check with the intention to snap call. My opponent takes some time, but then really in the end decide to jam for 150 bucks. Unfortunately I don't have video footage, guys, but I snap call my opponent and he shows us 10-5 of diamonds. Of course we are good here and the table goes crazy. I had some really friendly guys at the table, some good conversations, but then it was time for a greater mission. We are running hot, guys. I'm at a stack at 1.1k or something. I'm drinking some Heineken, but I'm going on the list for 510 and hopefully we get a seat. Ladder challenge done. Hopefully we run good at 510 as well, so wish us luck. See you at the table there. So we have a stack at around 1.5k. We are already up over $1,000 on the night. Then it was time to move up to 510 for my first time ever, and I'm so nervous. I look around at the table, and with 1.5k in my stack, 150 big blinds, I'm the short stack at the table. Everybody has at least 2 to 3k at the table. I think the big stack has around 5 to 6k, and I'm feeling even more nervous. Most of the time the straddle is on, so we don't play 5-10, we play 5-10-20. We are already 30 minutes at the table, and then we pick up our first playable hand. Since then I'm just folding. Here in the first hand I want to go over, I have pocket freeze in the +1 position. You could fold this hand here in this position, but I'm folding here for 30 minutes straight and I want to get in the mix. And the good thing is there's no straddle on this time, so I only raise to 30. The small blind and the big blind decide to call, so we are in position to a flop of queen, queen, jack. They check to me and I decide to c-bet for 50. Both of my opponents decide to fold and we win our first hand here at the 5-10 game, and I can shake off my nervousness. Guys, please take a second to like and subscribe under my channel. For you it takes only 2 seconds to do so. To me it takes a ton of time to edit these videos. That's much appreciated and thank you again. You helped me a lot with these 2 clicks, and yeah, now on to the biggest hand and biggest pot I ever played. Before this hand I'm already playing over 1 hour at this table and there are only good players at the table. But 15 minutes before this hand happened, a fun player joined the table and things got better. Alright, in this hand under the gun straddle for 20 is on and I'm on the button with ace jack of clubs. The fun player before me, I guess he was in the hijack or low jack position, limps, and I raised to 100. An open raise to 100, what the hell. Anyway, we see 2 callers, which one of them is the fun player in the hijack, and we see a flop of 10-7-4 with 2 clubs. Oh my god, we flop ourselves the nut flush draw and we have 2 overcards as well. But now the fun player in the hijack donk leads for 240 bucks. Wow, already a very big bet here, but there is no way I can fold my hand. I think raising here in position is not a good idea either, so I call. The other opponent gets out of the way and we are heads up to a turn. And now, really, please dealer, give us no sweat. Show us a very nice card, and he burns and shows us the 6 of clubs. We have the nuts, or almost the nuts. Only 9-8 of clubs will beat us and I am feeling great. You can't imagine how I feel. I'm so nervous. I think I have a heartbeat of 140 to 180 or something like that. And even better news and music to our ears, my opponent in the hijack is not done with betting. He bets for 300 bucks. Since I'm in position, I don't want to scare my opponent away, even though I really want to get the money in on this turn, but I get myself together and only call the 300. So I pray to the poker gods and pray to the dealer again that he shows us a brick on the river so we can get the money in without a bad feeling, and he burns and shows us the 8 of diamonds. What a great card. So every 9 makes a straight now as well, which my opponent can easily have here in this situation. And yeah, he is first to act and he is still not done with betting. He bets 300 bucks again, and yeah, now it's time to get the money in. I think I thought about for like 30 seconds and then I jam for 860 total. So that means he only has to pay 560 more bucks to see my cards, and yeah, he snap calls us and I turn over my hand and of course we are good. I'm not really sure what he shows to me, but in the end I think he said something like he had this straight on the turn and we win this massive pot. It's like a 3.2k or maybe a 3.3k pot. I don't know what to say. That is so amazing. The biggest pot I ever played so far was like 1.2k, and that pot is almost 3 times bigger than the last biggest pot I've ever played. Wow, wow, wow. But the session didn't end at this point. I don't want to be a dick and stand up from the table after I win this massive pot. I indeed played for like 1 more hour and I continued to run good. In the end, I'm sitting on a stack of around 3.5k or so, and it's just amazing. I could go over 2 more hands, but they are not that interesting at the last one, and the video is already over 20 minutes, so I just hit you with the outro. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one. Oh my fucking god, guys, I'm sitting at over 3.1 or 3.2k at the 5-10 game. I don't know what to say. I'm running hot this evening and I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm probably going at the 1-3 table, splashing around some blinds with my friends, drinking something. I just don't know. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will play some more orbits at the 5-10 game just for good measure. And yeah, not just gonna hit and run. And if there's some interesting spots, I will tell you. Otherwise, thanks for watching and see you tomorrow. Maybe I will play some bigger tournament. Not really sure. Let's see how it goes. And yeah, if you like this video, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much appreciated, and goodbye.